finesse. The track hits your eardrum like a slug to your chest. Like a vest for your Jimmy in the city of sex. We in that sunshine state where the bomb ass him be. The state where you never find a dance floor empty and pimp speed. On a mission for them greens. Lean, mean, money making machines serving fiends.
FightSaga.com presents War a Week radio chats with boxing scribe Joseph Heron and former prizefighter Young Billionaire.
Guys, happy new year to everyone who's joining us post-fight Ortiz versus Martin. I tell you what, a mixed bag of feelings after watching all of that. And guys, I have the luxury of sharing the air with my very dear friend, former prizefighter, Young Billionaire, Young Bill.
Hey, Happy New Year, Joe. Happy New Year to the chat and everybody listening.
I tell you what, man. This was, well, first of all, what were your thoughts on Luis Ortiz, the real King Kong, getting the TKO in 6 rounds over Princess Charles Martin? Well,
my first reaction was you called it exactly how it was going to happen. You said in middle rounds, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So you actually predicted that. And we all said if you and I both said if Luis Ortiz had anything left in the tank, he would probably get the knockout. Yep. But how vulnerable did he look in there, Joe?
You know what, brother? I know in the heavyweight division we've seen guys over 40 compete at the highest level of the heavyweight division. But guys, I saw a version of Luis Ortiz who couldn't pull the trigger at times. He couldn't pull the trigger at times. And I'm sorry if they're trying to build up an Andy Ruiz, Luis Ortiz showdown. This is going to be all Andy Ruiz. If he's having trouble pulling the trigger over someone who's much slower, like Charles Martin, good luck against a real sharpshooter like Andy Ruiz. Your thoughts on this, Young Bill?
Andy Ruiz is one of the fastest counterpunchers in all of boxing, and he puts his punches together extremely well. And also, if Luis Ortiz legs are as shot as they look tonight,
oh boy,
against a guy who wants to exchange, guy who wants to stand in the center of the ring with you, if you trade shots with a guy who can counterpunch in combination, like Andy Ruiz, without your legs and without your ability to pull the trigger, that spells disaster for Luis Ortiz.
Oh, that's disaster for the real King Kong. Honestly, he looked sluggish. Now, maybe that was a product of inactivity. Maybe that was a product of age. But regardless, he oftentimes couldn't pull the trigger. He had Charles Martin there as early as the second round, and he couldn't pull the trigger. That's not good. But I tell you what, let's give a recap of the entire pay-per-view event, which, to be honest with you, Young Bill, if I'm being honest, I actually enjoyed the Fox mainstream broadcast, the undercard, a lot more than I did, well, some of those heavyweight bouts in the pay-per-view portion of it. Come on, let's be honest. Some of those fights were like watching paint dry.
Are you saying that coffee's only good in the morning?
Oh, shit. Dude, that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm sorry. That was terrible. I've seen better club shows. I'm not exaggerating, brother. I've called better club shows than that. Like local fights that I've been a ring announcer for.
And you know what, Joe? Another thing that you said that was glaring, that stood out, was Frank Martin being on the preliminaries and not being on the main card. And his fight with Duno was very exciting. Very exciting.
That's what I'm saying. The broadcast on the flagship channel of Fox was much more enjoyable, right? Now, just to give you guys a recap, it started out as Victor Faust taking on Iago Kiladze, right?
Right.
And that was a TKO 2 in a bout where Iago Kalatse didn't listen to the referee in charge, giving the ring sobriety test. Rather than coming forward, he wobbled to the side, and the ref had no choice but calling a halt to the bout. Right?
And I know people have are calling it a bad stoppage, but it's not the refs. It's not up to the ref anymore. Like you said, Joe, the commissions are getting very stringent on those type of on the ring sobriety test for the fighter's health nowadays. So if you don't follow the ref's directions, he has no choice but to stop it.
That's it. That's it, guys. And that's across the board on every state athletic commission, right? And so we move over to the next bout. Gerald Washington, showing all the signs of being a shot fighter, gets stopped by Ali Demirezin of Turkey. And he gets stopped in the 8th round. Young Bill, have we seen the last of Gerald Washington at this level?
You know what, Joe? Because he's with a certain advisor, I don't know if we've seen him. I don't know if we've seen him the last of Gerald Washington at this level. But I'll tell you what, I think we should have seen the last of Gerald Washington.
Oh boy, yeah, it was a horror show for him. I mean, this guy, he's got nothing left. He's got no legs underneath him. He's got no balance. And because he has no legs underneath him, he can't throw anything of consequence. They were all arm punches for the entire fight, right?
Slow as molasses. He looked like,
lethargic.
He looked almost as bad as Dominic Brazil did against W.A.W. in his last fight.
Oh boy, that's terrible. And guys, if my voice is a little hoarse, right? It's because I was actually calling the fights on H Money's channel while we're actually watching the action live. Want to give a shout out very quickly. Our brother Trollmaster Mike. Yes, you were first in the queue. Thank you for joining us, sir. Also, our brother from Long Beach, California, Antonio Luna. Boom. Thank you for joining us post-fight, sir. Hold on. I'm going to take a drink, brother. I'm feeling very dry right now. Hold on. You know what? It might be time for a shot, my friend. That's what I have to say. But also want to give a shout out to our brother Lance Meyer, right? Thank you for always enjoying the show, brother. Thank you for being a part of the program. Says he's 39. Come on, young billionaire. Brother, yeah, he's done. He's done. You know what? I going into this fight, I even said, well, he's on the back nine, but now he's in the clubhouse. He's a shot fighter, guys. So going into the next fight, right? Jonathan Rice versus Michael Coffey. Guys, that was disgraceful.
Whew.
Honestly, like I said, I've seen better club fights. I've seen better heavyweight fights at the club level. Guys who are willing to let their hands go, right? You saw two guys who weren't warmed up even going into the ring. It took them 3 rounds just to start letting their hands go in this fight. It was disgraceful. Young Bill, what were your thoughts on Jonathan Rice getting the unanimous decision victory in 10 rounds over Michael Coffey?
Michael Coffey, you can tell that he started boxing late. Joe, I had a hard time really focusing.
Pathetic.
Yeah, Joe, for this to be a featured bout and a bout that's supposed to, boost and help the build of the main card. I mean, it's supposed to be on the main card. I would have, Joe, this was terrible. This was terrible. I was really disappointed in Michael Coffey. I mean, how do you expect to win a rematch fighting that way? And after coming off a knockout, how do you catapult yourself back into the conversations of what people thought you could be already. You know, what people thought he could be before the Jonathan Rice fight. Joe, nobody was willing to mix it up, and Joe, I don't want to see either one of those guys again on a card like this.
I don't. It looked like a bad sparring session. Okay, and so our brother Lance Meyer says the silent agreement. Okay, so you're not talking about this fight. You're talking about the co-main event. Frank Sanchez versus Christian Hammer. That was just as bad. Look, when you've got a guy who's severely overmatched like Christian Hammer was, he made that silent agreement with himself and was looking to survive. When you only land 21 punches in 10 rounds, you're not trying to win a fight. You're trying to survive, right?
Wow. 2 punches around in the high guard, Joe. But, you know, I actually, you know what? As you would say, as disappointed as I am in Hammer, I would actually give him more of a pass than Rice and Coffee, because at least this guy was a late replacement. You know, these guys.
What? That is absolutely true, brother. That is absolutely true. Absolutely. It was pathetic, though. Guys, I feel for anyone who spent $40 on this piece of trash. Now, once again, I'm a little bit more fortunate, and you'll read my write-ups in the morning on FightSaga.com. But thanks to editor-in-chief Lee Cleveland of FightSaga.com, he purchases these events. And yes, they're a tax write-off for Fight Saga, but he sends me the links so I can watch it. But I feel bad that he actually paid money for this crap. Young Bill, would you have paid money for this crap? I know you saw it, but you didn't pay for it, did you?
Woo! You know what, Joe? I plead the fifth. I support our fighters, the real bosses of boxing.
Look, you get a pass. You get a pass if you didn't, because no one asked for this fight.
Right.
No one asked for this fight. Now, once again, if there's a matchup that you wanted to see and you streamed it illegally, then I would say, you know what, shame on you, man. But no one asked for this. Did anyone ask to see this fight, especially on pay-per-view?
Joe, absolutely not. We were all surprised that it was announced as a pay-per-view fight.
Shocking.
Yeah.
So, we go to our brother Scott Brown. Thank you for joining us, sir. It says, first and last fight on the card were good fights. Okay. Well, I will say this, because Luis Ortiz has obviously lost a step and couldn't pull the trigger. It made it a very competitive fight. Ortiz was floored in the first and the fourth rounds, right? Mm-hmm. He eventually got Charles Martin out in round number 6, but that was not the same King Kong that fought Deontay Wilder twice. Was it, Young Bill?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. He was slower on the counters. His punch resistance also was shot too, Joe. You know, that's the thing I'm more worried about. Yeah, his punch resistance, getting dropped by a jab was surprising. And not saying that, anybody over 200 pounds could punch, but to go from, the fighters that he's fought and fighting a guy like Wilder and being dropped by a jab by Charles Martin. It showed in the first round, it showed me that also as he gets older, he takes a little longer to warm up. He's not pulling the trigger as fast as he is. His punch resistance is a little bit less than what it used to be.
Young Bill, let me tell you, brother. Let me tell you, I've worked with several old fighters doing publicist work for them, and let me tell you, their punch resistance, their ability to take a good shot always diminishes the older they get. This is a young man's sport, right?
Right.
I'm sorry, but once that's gone in the heavyweight division, hang it up. His days of being a top-rated heavyweight are long gone. I'm sorry, they're gone. Think about the top 10. Think about if Luis Ortiz fought Andy Ruiz. Robert Hellenius, Joseph Parker, Dillian White, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Alexander Usyk, even Oscar Rivas.
Right. I mean, what about Frank Sanchez on the undercard? How will he do with him?
Oh boy, Frank. Well, first of all, let me just get this out of so you guys don't think that Frank Sanchez will ever fight Luis Ortiz. After doing publicist work for the Bartholomew brothers, right, for several years, this is firsthand knowledge. Cuban exiles will never fight other Cuban exiles. That just won't happen. They will never fight each other, guys. You will never see a Cuban fighter fight another Cuban fighter. That's just the way it goes. Okay, after speaking with those guys and spending a lot of time with them, you will never see another Cuban exile fight another Cuban exile. So if you're waiting to see Luis Ortiz versus Frank Sanchez, forget about it. It's never going to happen.
Absolutely not. And
never.
And just for an example, you had Yuneski Gonzalez and Sullivan Barrera at light heavyweight for years, and these guys never fought. Never even thought about it.
That's right. That's a very good point. And you will never see two Cuban exiles in the ring facing each other. That'll
Absolutely
never happen. Never happen, guys. So once again, let's move forward. So there it is. Your final result from this pay-per-view. Luis Ortiz gets a TKO 6 over Charles Martin. So what's next for Charles Martin? Young Bill?
A fight with Gerald Washington.
A fight with Jonathan Rice?
Yeah, that too. Fight with Jonathan Rice. Yeah,
that was
I really believe that's going to happen.
Disgraceful, guys.
You know it's going to happen though, Joe. You know Charles Martin's not. That's not.
Oh, jeez.
You know they're going to make a Jonathan Rice or a Charles Martin or a Gerald Washington and a Charles Martin.
Oh, geez. You know what, man? That was, geez. That was hard to watch, man. Honestly, I can't believe I made it through the entire card. Like, I was calling those fights on the other platform.
Right.
And let me tell you, I felt bad. I'm like, you know what, dude? I quit halfway through, and I said, this is not worth my voice. Right? I wanted to save my voice for the show because the action was so bad. Or I should say the lack of it. That's a lot more accurate. It was like watching paint dry, guys. Like, honestly, on the Frank Sanchez and the Jonathan Rice fight, like, it was like watching grass grow. It was that bad. That's no exaggeration, brother. So guys, so there are your results, right? Congratulations to the big winners tonight. Luis Ortiz, Frank Sanchez, Jonathan Rice, Ali Demirezin. Okay. I'll tell you who stole the show, and they should have, and I stated this yesterday. They should have featured Frank Martin.
Yes, you did.
On the preliminary bouts of the televised pay-per-view portion of the fight card. Because Frank Martin is a prospect that everyone should be looking at with interest, right? Who improved his record to 15-0 over Romero Duno from the Philippines, right?
Yep. Southpaw, compact, pretty technical, has pretty sound defense, pretty good footwork, has good combination, body punching, right jab to the body. I like the way he sets up his shots, Joe. He's very patient too.
Indeed, brother. So we're going to move on while I still have some voice, right? We're going to give the big news that this may put a hindrance, and guys, it's going to get worse before it gets better. It was just announced that the British Boxing Board of Control, they've now officially confirmed that they've suspended all UK boxing in January due to the current COVID situation.
Wow.
That puts a complete kibosh on Chris Eubank Jr. versus Liam Williams, right?
Oh, yeah, I did see that. Yeah, I did see that was suspended for right now.
It's going to have to be rescheduled. And so what does that say for all of the UK fights coming up later on this year in the first quarter? Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Usyk. Tyson Fury versus Dillian White. What's your prognostication? Do those fights happen within the first half of 2022, young Bill?
I believe they will, Joe. I don't know. I believe they'll look for another site, like almost like Ruiz Joshua too, how they fought in Saudi Arabia. I could see them going through with other suitors and other sites, because Joshua's that big of a star.
Yeah.
But a lot of these other fights, I don't know, Joe. That puts a damper on a lot of them.
Yep. And once again, we saw a very strange message from Tyson Fury saying that Saudi King was going to be back in action. That big news was forthcoming, right?
Exactly. So that's what makes me believe that they're fielding offers from other sites. If this now that UK boxing has been suspended, I'm pretty sure Tyson Fury would not be opposed to going to Saudi Arabia.
Look though, man, that's assuming that Saudi Arabia is not going to have the same travel ban and COVID restriction that the UK and Canada and Japan and other countries are suffering right now. Right?
Exactly.
So we'll see what the future holds. But right now, guys, I'm going to have to shed a light and provide some education for a lot of fans who seem to be convinced that Matchroom Sport is going to try and win the purse bid for Dillian White, Tyson Fury. Guys, this is, and once again, this is just, and look, I have a lot of respect for the content creators, the great fans that emotionally follow and support our beloved boxing. But look, guys, unless you've been in the sport for a considerable amount of time and have been in this business, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, right? So once again, there are a lot of fans and a lot of content creators that seem to think that Eddie Hearn and DAZN are going to make this fight go to purse bid and try to win the purse bid, even though the WBC has deemed this an 80-20 split in favor of Tyson Fury. This is not going to happen, guys. Let me tell you. Okay, so once again, this is a quote from Mauricio Suleiman. Today, he said the 80-20 split comes from the purses the fighters have earned in their recent fights. The arbitration is still ongoing. We simply made the ruling, and that's where we are right now, end quote. Guys, I told you that that's the way it was going to pan out. I told you this last week. That's the protocol. And once again, it's not the WBC in a corroborated effort with Team Fury, Top Rank, and Frank Warren. And why? Because I told you this was going to happen. Want to give a shout out to our brother Pugnacious Boxing. Happy New Year, champs. Only caught the main card from round 3, and it was a joke of a main pay-per-view. No winners here. You know what, brother? Definitely not the fans. The fans definitely didn't win out. It was terrible. It was like watching paint dry, right? So let's go back. And let me tell you, young Bill.
Yes, sir.
Who would be most excited if Eddie Hearn and DAZN were stupid enough to try and take this to a purse bid and win the purse bid? Who would be the most excited person in this scenario?
Mr. Bobby Arin. Mr. Bob Arum.
Absolutely, brother. You really think that Bob would be disappointed if Matchroom Sport accepted all liability while paying their superstar fighter $20 million? Do you think he'd be disappointed at that?
and giving him his Bob Arum making 20% of the cut? Absolutely not. You don't have to shell out $1 and you get your 20%.
Look, guys, and once again, unless you've been in the boxing business and have been around these things, right? I've been doing this for the past 20 years, guys, right? And you'll be hard pressed to find any journalist who knows more about the boxing business than I do. Okay? I've done pretty much every job there is to do within this wacky business. Ring announcing, color commentator, right? Publicist, media, matchmaking, promotion. I've done it all in this sport. Journalism. I've done it all in this sport, right? And so I'm telling you with great experience that Bob Arum would love it if Eddie Hearn were stupid enough to try and win a purse bid. Once again, judging by the offer that they actually extended to Team Dillian White, $5.5 million, 80-20 split, that means that their minimum bid is going to be $25 million, with $20 million going to Tyson Fury and $5 million going to Dillian White, right? So if Matchroom Sports, if they're foolish enough to try and bid higher, say they bid $30 million, right?
Right.
That means they're accepting liability and guaranteeing a purse of $30 million. Young Bill, is Dillian White versus Tyson Fury in the UK worth $30 million?
You know what, Joe? It wasn't before, and now, if you have to make that fight in the UK, where right now with the uncertainty that's going on, Joe, it makes the fight. What if they had to stage that fight here in America, Joe?
You know what? You might be better off staging the fight in America, getting a big casino site fee, right? Even though COVID is ravaging every country right now, Omicron is kicking everyone's ass, right?
Right.
So, look, even if you stuck it in a casino site fee, right? If Matchroom Sports, Eddie Hearn, if they're dumb enough to do this, what this means is, guys, and when you look at a fighter contract, and this is standard in every fighter contract, if you compete on a rival promoter's event, you have to give 20% of your purse to your promoter, right? So that means Bob Arum would be making 20% of Tyson Fury's mammoth inflated purse without having to lift a damn finger.
So just break it down, Joe. So for $20 million, let's say.
Okay, so look, in order to win the purse bid, seeing that Bob Arum and Top Rank are fully prepared to bid $25 million for this fight, Matchroom Sport and DAZN would have to bid more, right? Let's say they bid 30. That means about 24 million of it would go to Tyson Fury and 6 million of it would go to Dillian White. Why on earth would Matchroom Sport and DAZN be willing to pay out $24 million to a fighter that isn't on their roster? Does that make any sense at all?
Absolutely not.
No.
Bob Arum would love it.
He would love it because not only does he collect 20% of Tyson Fury's big purse without having to do a damn thing, but now all the liability of the event is in the hands of Matchroom Sport and DAZN. So if the fight doesn't make any money, if they lose money, that, like, Bob Arum has nothing to do with that. That's all on DAZN and Matchroom Sport. And in this era of piracy, with the limited live gate that you may see because of COVID, Bob Arum would be laughing his 90-year-old ass off.
To the bank, Joe. 4 million.
So trust me when I tell you this, guys. This is not going to purse bid if this fight happens. Okay, I told you guys this last week. If Dillian Whyte is smart, he'll take the offer that Bob Arum just gave him, $5.5 million, and roll the bones in the ring. Just try to win. That's it. Give Top Rank and Queensbury all of the liability in staging the event, right? Like, for some strange reason, fans seem to think that Matchroom Sport have the deepest pockets in boxing. I'm sorry, guys, but the era of the blank checkbook and inflated purses from DAZN, they're long gone. How did it benefit him when they basically wrote Canelo a blank check for everything? How did it fare for him? Did they have Canelo in the last half of 2021 competing on their platform?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So once again, guys, it's checkmate. It's checkmate in favor of Bob Arum and Top Rank. Right? Case closed. Game, set, and match. Top Rank. The WBC made sure of that. When they ruled in favor of Tyson Fury getting an 80-20 split, that's it. It's over. It's over and done with. Eddie Hearn, DAZN would never allow Eddie Hearn to bid that kind of money for a fighter who isn't even on their roster. Forget about it. That's it.
Well stated.
Want to go to Sid UK? He says Eddie would never bid crazy money for that fight. Dillian is delusional and unknown in the USA. They should take that 20%. Fury can walk away because he is bigger than the belt anyway. Very well said, Sid UK. You know what, brother? Young Bill, our listeners are among the smartest and most knowledgeable in all of YouTube, in the entire YouTube universe. Seriously, our listeners are the best.
Wow. Sid, that was very intelligent. He also said Ortiz is a mandatory for the IBF now. Hope he makes his money from that position and retires. Me too, Sid.
Yeah, you know what, brother? Against Alexander Usyk or Anthony Joshua, this version of Luis Ortiz gets his clock cleaned. Like, exactly. Honestly, I may even favor Robert Helenius against Luis Ortiz at this juncture.
Joe, that's not exaggerating either. That's not disrespectful to say that, to be like, I could favor Robert Helenius. The way Robert Helenius is sitting down on his shots and the way that he's putting his punches together and fighting behind his jab.
Yep.
Oh man. And the conditioning he's been in these last few fights.
Yep.
Ever since that loss to Dillian Whyte, Joe, I've seen nothing but improvement from Helenius, and because like you said, he's been healthy, and Joe, he's been having full camps. The guy, you could tell the guy's getting better every fight and getting more confident every fight.
Yep. So guys, once again, Luis Ortiz, we've seen the best version of Luis Ortiz in the rear view. Okay. Congratulations to him tonight, but I'm sorry, I wouldn't favor him against any of the top 10 guys right now. Joseph Parker, Andy Ruiz, Oscar Rivas, Dillian Whyte, Tyson Fury, like, just name them. Sorry, Luis Ortiz, when you see a guy who can't pull the trigger any longer, and the problem is when you're 42 and your skill set is contingent on reflexes.
Right.
That's a problem. That's a problem. We go to the comment section. Pugnacious Boxing says, above about middleweight, the PBC is on its ass, isn't it? You said it. I didn't, brother. You said it. No, you're absolutely right. Like I said, our listeners, Young Bill, are among the most knowledgeable on YouTube. Okay, I take great pride in that. God bless all of you. Happy New Year. Danny Drew, welcome to the show. He said first fight and last fight were the best tonight. You know what, brother? That's not saying much, is it? Young Bill, is that saying anything at all?
Joe, I'm just glad that I'm glad that a lot of fans were intelligent enough to wonder why this was on pay-per-view. And if you gotta ask why it's on pay-per-view, Joe, you probably know the answer.
Yep, and there it is. And there it is. Guys, so let's go to our next topic right now. And I hope that I cleared up all of the rigmarole between the WBC, Dillian White, and Tyson Fury, right? It's checkmate, Top Rank. So Dillian White at this point has two choices. Take the offer of $5.5 million or turn it down and wait for arbitration. But if he waits for arbitration, he's not going to get the fight in 2022. Think about this. Tyson Fury, if he goes on to fight Robert Helenius or Andy Ruiz and is successful, he's going to be taking on the winner of Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Usyk. So where does that leave Dillian White for the remainder of the year?
Looking for big fights, Joe.
Well, hang it up, brother. What, are you going to fight old Pops Povetkin again?
Right.
Okay, what big fights are looming for you? You going to fight Derek Chisora again?
Joseph
I'm sorry,
Parker,
man. Look, if you want this opportunity, take it. Swallow your pride. Take $5.5 million, because I tell you what, during COVID, during this pandemic, shame on you if you think that's not enough money. Right? So there it is. Let's go to topic number 2. Young Bill, there's a reason why Teddy Atlas, as much respect as I have for Teddy Atlas, he's a great guy. Okay? I've met him several times, and he's a great guy. But on the air, he's a damn lunatic. Like, he doesn't think before he speaks.
Is that why he's off of ESPN, Joe?
That's exactly why he's off ESPN. He said this on his Fight podcast the other day. He said this, quote, Joshua's made too much money. He accepts defeat too easily, too graciously. I want a good winner and a good loser. Don't get me wrong. But I believe as much as anybody, if not more than most people, about showing that kind of graciousness, whether you win or lose. But in my opinion, he's too gracious when it comes to winning and losing. Like a guy that has made too much money. End quote. In other words, he thinks Anthony Joshua is way too gracious and accepts defeat too easily.
You know what, Joe? You know what bothers me about that is I know Anthony Joshua is seems like a nice guy, and I think that can be, taken the wrong way. But anybody that loses by devastating knockout like he did against Andy Ruiz and fights him immediately, doesn't take a in between fight, doesn't take a tune-up fight.
That's it.
Doesn't take a fight to get his confidence back. Goes right back in there and fights Andy Ruiz, and from what all signs are pointing to, he's activated his rematch clause with Alexander Usyk, and is willing to fight him again right away. So anybody that's willing to do that doesn't accept defeat as easy as what people are saying.
Yeah, and you know what? Think about this. Is there any shame in losing to Andy Ruiz and Alexander Usyk?
Absolutely not.
Two of the most skilled guys in the division? Like, I'm sorry. Did Teddy Atlas give this same kind of grief to Lennox Lewis for losing to Hasim Rahman or Oliver McCall?
Absolutely not.
Did he give the same kind of grief to Vladimir Klitschko for losing to Layman Brewster?
Ooh.
Or Corey Sanders? Or Ross Purity?
Woo.
He's talking out of his ass. Okay? This guy is speaking nonsense. Okay, so Teddy, with all due respect, shut the hell up, man. Anthony Joshua is a champion with pride. And I'll say this, if every fighter conducted himself the way Anthony Joshua does inside and outside the ring, boxing would be a mainstream sport again in America. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Teddy, with all due respect, stay with the UFC, brother. Stay with the UFC. Commentate on UFC. That's where you belong, brother. A subpar product for a subpar commentator. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Right.
That's it. Now, once again, let's go to Sid UK, right? He says, I met Joshua twice. He's a genuinely humble and good guy. He stays gracious because he doesn't want to play into stereotypes and be a bad guy. He has sponsors and makes millions. That's it. Once again, we have the brightest panel of any channel on YouTube. Take great pride in that. Danny Drew, he says, Teddy Atlas met him at the Foxwood Casino when he was still on broadcast. Can't deny Teddy's enthusiasm for the fight game. You're right. He's very enthusiastic, but he doesn't think before he speaks, which is why he's not commentating on any fights any longer.
And you know what, Teddy? You know what, Mr. Teddy? Everything is not corruption. If you disagree with a judge, not every scorecard, not everything is the mafia and corruption.
Oh my gosh. If he scores a fight on the air, and this used to drive me nuts in Friday night fights, right? If he scores a fight and the judges don't agree with him, oh, it's blatant corruption. Oh, it's corruption.
Right.
You know what? Shut the fuck up, dude. You know what? Just because the judges don't see the fight exactly like you do, right? Shut the hell up. Like, that's terrible for the sport. To be on a national commentary and to be talking about corruption. Shut the hell up, dude. Jeez, that's so bad for the sport. So there it is, guys. There it is. Okay, just wait. Give Anthony Joshua the benefit of the doubt. He's going to be with a new trainer, Ronnie Shields. Wait and see what happens, right? But, give him some credit for jumping back into the lion's den against one of the most skilled pound-for-pound fighters in boxing, Alexander Usyk.
Undisputed cruiserweight champ, the gold medalist, over 300 amateur fights. I mean, Joe, when you jump right back in that lion's den again, and
it takes a lot of balls, man.
That doesn't seem like a good loser to me.
Nope, doesn't seem like a gracious loser to me either. But you know what? Once again, credit to Anthony Joshua for being the consummate ambassador for the sport of boxing. And I'll say it again, if every fighter conducted himself the way Anthony Joshua does in and out of the ring, the sport would be much better off. Now, guys, we go to our final topic. And it pains me to say this, but it's about Jake Paul.
Oh, man.
Jake Paul recently tweeted, he said, some people are asking about my 2022 goals. Here they are. Number 1, buy Mayweather Promotions and save them from bankruptcy. Number 2, hire a stylist for Floyd Mayweather because he looks like shit. Number 3, take a selfie with Oprah. Number 4, go to a chiropractor to heal my back from carrying the sport of boxing. End quote.
Wow.
Let me tell you, I'm getting ready to go off. So, young Bill, your initial thoughts on Jake Paul's tweet.
You know what, Joe? I can't take it seriously, but him saying Mayweather needs a stylist, that was kind of funny. And saying that and taking a picture, getting a selfie with Oprah, that's pretty cool too. The carrying the sport, I think he's doing more damage than helping it right now. And honestly,
Oh boy, you know what? You're very insightful, young Bill, and I love you being on the show, man. Shout out to our brother IB. I know he's got a bottle of Cuervo 1800, so we're gonna take a shot right now. IB, are you ready, my friend? Are you ready? Salud, brother. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Salud. Shot 30, brother.
Yes, sir. But yeah, I just think
holy shit, that was a double. Pardon my French.
Buying Mayweather Promotions to save them from bankruptcy was funny too.
I loved it. I loved it. Everything except for that fourth part, and I wasn't the only one who took exception to that. Right?
Yeah. Yes.
So upon reading the fourth part, right? Go to a chiropractor to heal my back from carrying the sport of boxing. Former prize fighter turned commentator Tony Bellew took great exception to that. Said, brother, you couldn't hold the jockstrap of a proper boxer. Take that fourth point back. End quote. So is that the reality? Is he carrying the sport of boxing, young Bill?
No, and I'll tell you why. Is because he's not bringing any new fans to the sport of boxing, and that's in the long run, that's damaging the sport, Joe.
That's it. He is not attracting new fans to the sport of boxing. Look, there's a reason, guys, why he picks on. Excuse me. Boy, that last shot did me in, I think. There's a reason why he picks on UFC fighters, ones that are semi-retired or long in the tooth, right? There's a reason, because not only can he beat them in the ring, but also that comprises over half of his fan base. Most people who purchase his events or purchase tickets to his events want to see him lose. That's the reality. Hold on. Before we go any further, I do have to give a shout out. And once again, IB, thank you, brother. Shot 30, my friend. Saturday night. Happy New Year. But let's go to Danny Drew. He says this, best commentator I ever saw and met him twice, Sean O'Grady of USA Tuesday Night Fights. Hell yes. Former champion with a great record, Mississippi and Oklahoma on Tuesday Night Fights, USA Network. Yes, Sean O'Grady was awesome. Man, I used to love me some Tuesday Night Fights, and they had great matchups. Young Bill, I think you may be a little too young. Do you remember Tuesday Night Fights on USA Network?
Vaguely. We need some more of that, though, Joe. Yep. We need some more Tuesday Night Fights.
Because once again, USA Network Tuesday Night Fights, it was an upgrade to Friday Night Fights on ESPN, right? It was a much higher level. They actually had stars on that network. It was somewhere between HBO and Showtime Championship Boxing, but it was above Friday Night Fights, right?
Just imagine if we still had Tuesday Night Fights or Friday Night Fights with all the prospects that need dates right now, Joe.
You know what, brother? And once again, like, look at the Christmas main event that we had on PBC on Fox. And that's on the flagship Fox, right? Vito Milnecki. Dude, we saw better fights on a regular basis on USA Tuesday Night Fights.
Absolutely.
We didn't see that kind of garbage on Tuesday Night Fights. It was a much higher level of boxing, right? It was just beneath Boxing After Dark or Showbox. It was just beneath that, right? That's the reality. Trollmaster Mike says, what was that 65,000 pay-per-view for Paul? Well, I'm going to get the official number this week, right? I've got to wait till the week. The guy that I get the numbers from, the official numbers, and guys, from anyone who's been listening to this show for a considerable amount of time, almost always I'm spot on with the numbers. And I'll give you the real numbers, right? Because this is a gentleman who's an entertainment lawyer, and he's privy to all the official pay-per-view numbers, all the official ratings, right? He doesn't sugarcoat anything. So I'll be able to give you the numbers on Monday night or Tuesday night. How do you like that? But going back to Jake Paul, right? This is a guy who is potentially detrimental to the sport of boxing. And I'll explain why. Look, if his pay-per-view events are doing better than Gervonta Davis, or if Showtime is losing money with the huge guaranteed purses of Canelo Alvarez, if Steven Espinosa, if he sees the only events that are making him money are the circus events of Jake Paul, then what do you think he's going to do? Do you think he's going to want to give Gervonta Davis those big slots on pay-per-view? No. He's going to look for more circus events featuring YouTubers and idiots of that nature. This is potentially catastrophic for the sport of boxing. And once again, Jake Paul is not making any new fans of the sport of boxing. Do you see anyone who's interested in any Jake Paul event? Do you see them interested in any other prize fighter, young Bill?
Absolutely not, and that's the problem. That's why it like you said, Joe. It seems like it's helping fighters out, but in the long run, like you keep explaining, it's so detrimental. Because if it's not going to bring odds to the real fight, to the other fighters that are, like Tony Bellew would say, proper fighter. Then then it's not creating any fans for Frank Sanchez or Alexander Usyk, Terrence Crawford, the fighters that need eyeballs, glued to these events for the sport to grow. Because with these promoters losing money, Joe, it makes it more and more likely that these fights are not going to be as beneficial for promoters anymore, and that is what I'm scared of. I'm scared of going forward.
That's it. So once again, the more success this Joker has, the more willing Steven Espinosa is going to be to extend these dates and extend that money, not to real prize fighters, not to real promoters, but to these idiotic circus events on the biggest platform of boxing, or one of the biggest platforms of boxing, Showtime, right? That's why it's a potentially detrimental prospect for boxing. Anything that's detrimental to the health of the sport, we're going to call out on this show. And guys, this is potentially detrimental to the health of the sport. That's it. I can't spell it out any other way. This guy's a joker. He's a sideshow. And if he has any more success, okay, it could yield other circus events, taking away much needed dates and much needed money from the real prize fighters, the real promoters, the real matchups, right?
Right.
And there it is. So let's go to last couple comments before we say goodnight. Pugnacious Boxing says, Teddy looks and sounds more and more like Mickey Goldmill out of the Rocky movies the older he gets. Brother, I'll tell you this. That's an insult to the late, great Burgess Meredith and Mickey Goldmill. That's it. That's it. So Danny Drew says, I could go back further than you guys. Jimmy Lennon Sr. Oh, I don't know, brother. Announcing Friday night fights from the Forum in LA with Danny Little Red Lopez in the main event. Brother, I can go even further. Danny Little Red Lopez, do you know who the promoter for those events were? Do you know? That was my mentor, Don Warwick Chargan. There's a reason why our show is named W.A.W Radio. It's an homage to my mentor, the guy who taught me everything I know about the business, Don Warwick Chargan. Right?
Right.
Let me tell you something about Jimmy Lennon Sr. Do you know that he is in the same family and the siblings of the famed Lennon sisters, the singers back in the 50s and 60s?
Wow.
So Jimmy Lennon Sr., Jimmy Lennon Jr.'s dad, right? Between fights, he used to actually sing to the crowd. He could sing opera in 5 different languages. That's how far back your friend Joseph goes, right? I'm an old geezer, brother. And I actually learned this business from the best. Don Warwick Chargan, God rest his soul, he taught me everything I know about the business. And that's why this show is named W.A.W Radio, right? God bless you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Lance Meyer says, Joseph, you're such a detractor, my friend. You know what? I'm fair and balanced. But if I sniff something out that is detrimental to the sport of boxing, yes, I'm going to call it out, right? Pug Nations Boxing says, how's Teddy's record on picking fights doing? Brother, he couldn't pick a winner if his life depended on it. I'm serious, there's a very real thing as the Teddy Atlas curse.
Yes.
And I've been tracking this story over the past 15 years, as long as I've been a journalist in this sport, in this business, right? Guys, if you ever want to pick a winner and make some money, go the very opposite of what Teddy picks, right?
Right.
That's proven, right? Last comment of the night, Danny Drew on Antenna TV. I can't believe Jimmy Lennon Jr. made Hall of Fame before his dad. Oh, dude, that's terrible. Don't say that. Don't say that. Jimmy Lennon is one of my heroes, right? He's a guy who, did the announcing old school in that sing-song method, right? This is a guy that I grew up studying and watching, and once again, I learned from all the greats. When I first made my bones in this business, I started with journalism. And then I became a ring announcer. And to be a ring announcer, I studied all the greats. And Jimmy Lennon was one of those guys. Everything from his cadence to his timbre to his vocal technique, everything. How he announced. So I am very, Jimmy Lennon is one of my heroes, right? And Jimmy Lennon Jr. is just like his father. Everything. From his tone, his cadence, everything. The way he crescendos, the way he announces guys. Yeah, it's just like his dad. Jimmy Lennon Sr. was a legend in the sport. This is a guy, if there was a long intermission, he would sing to the audience in attendance. He would actually sing songs between bouts. That's how special he used to be, right? That's how old I am, brother. Young Bill, your final thoughts on this Saturday night episode post-fight.
Happy New Year, and I'm glad we had boxing on New Year's, but I think we need a better show next year. If we have a boxing again on New Year's, let's make it worth our. Let's make a great pay-per-view, and Let's keep putting on these matchups that build the sport, please. The real fans, the real bosses of boxing have spoken. The best have to fight the best, and we have to support our fighters, Joe.
You know what? I'll say this, Bill, young Bill, in the immortal words of Bill Clinton, former president. Thanks, but no thanks. I'm sorry, brother. As shitty as this fight card was, I'd rather see nothing. I'd rather them replay a classic fight. I'm sorry. I'd much rather see that. Honestly, I would much rather see a replay of and I know PBC only goes back to 2015.
Right.
I would much rather see a replay of Keith Thurman versus Danny Garcia than the shit that we saw tonight.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
I would have took Thurman and Porter over tonight.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
oh my gosh. Just nonsense. It was terrible. Like I said, dudes, I was calling some of those fights on another platform, and I was pissed off that I was wasting my voice on this nonsense. It was like watching grass grow. Seriously, I've seen much better fights on the club level.
Joe, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you. And the quality of the matchups were not suitable for pay-per-view. You had some of the best fights on the preliminary card, on the free TV.
Yep. And those were mismatches.
Yeah.
But at least they had some action.
Right.
At least they had some guys trying to throw punches, trying to win the fight. Yes, they were mismatches, but you know what? There was a lot more action in those mismatches than what we saw on the pay-per-view portion of the card. That was disgraceful. Look, I promise you this. We didn't pick up any new fans as a result of tonight's card.
Oh, absolutely not. And you know what, Joe? Sign me up for Michael Coffey versus Charles Martin.
You know what, brother? Off TV, I'm all for it. But don't waste another TV slot on those guys. Fuck them. I'm sorry. I'm pulling out the F-bomb, right? It's late. It's past 1 a.m. on the East Coast, so I'm going to say it. Fuck those guys. Those guys are miserable. They don't deserve to be on TV. And that's it. Those are my final thoughts, guys. Want to thank everyone for tuning in. Hold on. One final comment. Danny Drew says, yeah, but just saying. Jimmy Lennon Sr. never got his props. He should have gone on to Hall of Fame before his son, riding on his coattails. I will say this, though, okay? When have you ever seen Jimmy Lennon Sr. on a Rocky movie? You saw Jimmy Lennon Sr. on 2 Rocky movies, right? And that's it. I'll take Rocky fame. I'll take that kind of mainstream look, right? Well, no, Canastota special. Guys, if you've never been to Canastota, and let's hope that they actually have the entire pageantry and the honors and the induction ceremony this year. Let's hope COVID doesn't put a dent in that. Because if you've never been to Canastota, right, and been to the Boxing Hall of Fame, guys, go. Do yourselves a favor and make a trip. Go to Canastota. It is special. Guys, you see the all-time greats all there having a great time. And not only at the International Boxing Hall of Fame, but in the surrounding restaurants and hotels. If you're a real fan of the sport, take a trip to Canastota. It's worth it. It's like if you're a boxing fan, it's like going to Disneyland. That's the reality, right? That's the reality. You're going to be in heaven. It's like a kid in a candy store if you're a boxing fan. That's how special it is, guys. And look, these guys aren't getting any younger. Go while these guys are still alive and you can still shake their hand and tell them what they've meant to you throughout your entire adult life, right? And even throughout your childhood. Go out to Canastota and tell them, you know what? I'm a fan of the sport because I saw you mix it up in the ring. Right? That's how special going to Canastota is. Young Bill, have you ever been to the International Boxing Hall of Fame?
No, and I plan to go.
You have to. Every fan has to make it out there at least once because it is special. There is nothing else like it, brother. And you'll see it's like, dude, it's like going to Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory if you're a boxing fan. It's that special. Right?
I would love to run into Tommy Hearns, Ray Leonard, some of the greats. I really would, and I really would like to interview those guys and just talk to them off the record and really pick their brains, because I really look up to all these fighters, that especially all the Hall of Famers, the best fighters that gave us some of these legendary fights. I would really love to go up there and see them ASAP. I promise. And people that really cover this sport and that, like you said, Joe, make their bones and make a lot of money off of covering this sport, to not take a trip out there and pay their respects to some of the legends. I think that's a disservice to the sport. I think we have to, like you said, Joe, tell the guys, tell the gladiators and the great fighters while they're still here, what they meant to us and how great they are, and how appreciative we are that they left it all in the ring like they did.
That's it. Guys, you have the opportunity to go see these guys while they're still alive, and kicking. George Foreman, Roberto Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns. Come on. Guys, if they have the International Boxing Hall of Fame, if they have the ceremony this year, take a trip, spend an entire week out there. Trust me, it's worth it. It's a lifetime of memories. So, Pug Nation's Boxing says, is Bellew just defending the sport, or is he angling for a fight himself? Look, guys, I'll say this about Jake Paul. He's no dummy. Do you really think he's going to take on real prize fighters anytime soon and step away from the formula who's made him a lot of money and a big star? The formula being taking on old shot UFC fighters who can't box and making an example out of them while making several millions of dollars in the process. If you think he's going to take on real prize fighters anytime soon, you are out of your mind. With that said, Young Bill, do you want to close the show with Welcome Back, Cotter, Tupac, or Different Strokes? Take your pick, brother.
Different Strokes.
All right. In the immortal words of Arnold Jackson, what you talking about, Willis? Guys, on behalf of Young Bill, I'm Joseph Herron. You've been listening to War Week Radio. Happy New Year, everybody.
Now the world don't move to the beat of just one drum. What might be right for you may not be right for some.